All right, welcome to another, there we go, Vidulant Podcast. So, welcome to Podcast 1.20, Season 1, Episode 10. Excuse me, not 20. So, we're 10 episodes in, and one of the most interesting things about launching what would you call this? A true, in the digital marketing space, thought leaders refer to this as a media production, right? Launching a media production division inside uh, your company, and that means treating your marketing like media production, creating shows and magazines and all the popular marketing material that consumers love. Because we are outside of our B2B worlds, we're customers in the global marketplace as well. And so we like to, you know, what you do in your real life, you tend to bring to work. And so if you love reading magazines, then you're gonna like to read a magazine from your B2B clients when you're researching your product or their service or what have you, when you start your buyer's journey. If you like consuming long form video, you're going to want to do that. If you like listening to podcasts, you're going to want to do that. If you like flipping through on an e reader, you're going to want to do that. And so at the end of the day, it's up to us as B2B marketers to deliver the content in the format that our buyers want. And you can start in one place and go after your maybe largest minority of buyers, your most popular format. You can start based on your budget is always going to be a limitation. You can start based on your in-house resources, staff, equipment, and vendors. I personally believe in starting with video because it cascades down and it can cover all the other um, popular formats. First and foremost, let's cover the two most popular formats in B2B. Those are live webinars and white papers. So let's talk about white papers in a second. Live video is really cool because you can do it um, with very little equipment. You don't need crazy equipment. In fact, for most people starting out, until you have, you know, well, it depends when you get, but it could be a few $1,000s worth of equipment max to get a good live video setup for most B2B situations. The question is going to be, do you have a Ethernet connection available at the camera? That's preferred. If you have to go wireless, then you can, and that's fine. It's just a little different, but you end up using, for the wireless, the the latest smartphone. Right now, it's a Pixel 3 or a iPhone 10. That's all you need. Camera facing, front facing camera, live stream to YouTube. LinkedIn is coming out with their live stream. That's going to be very interesting. But for now, just YouTube. And you don't need to edit on the fly. You can make it unlisted so no one can see it until it's edited, but it goes to the cloud. And, in the most simple but also the least processes but the most dedicated version, it's a public live stream um, straight to the web. Now you can have a guest, and you can have topics. You can have one person in an interview series. The simplest way, again, for most people is to just um, interview people. Um, Likewise, if you're going to go the interview route, you can use a just your typical computer. They have HD front-facing cameras, and you can interview and do a screen share with whomever you're interviewing anywhere in the world. That way, you get the live aspect for ease of editing and lack of uploading time. You get the interaction between two people, and so a new topic every day. or every show, you can have a live community, which is like, boy, if you can get a live community, you have great content and you're doing it regularly. So that's really, really, really good sign. I mean, you're professional at that point. Um, and yeah, once if you have to download it, record it, you got to put on the software. It's got to go into the whole thing. It's a pain in the butt. I'm not gonna lie. It's a step up, a steep step up to recording, editing, and the workflows associated with that. It's not to say you can't do it, but you're gonna need one person dedicated to editing, either on hand or as a contractor. Um, so I much prefer the live streaming for starting out. It's the simplest way to go, whether from a camera or a laptop. If you're going to do something like this, or maybe with a wider shot, you have people in person doing it. You can't have two cameras. Excuse me, the laptop cameras are slightly less quality, of a higher quality than a typical cell phone camera. Um, so you want to use, if it's wireless, a cell phone camera. If it's wired, there's a handful of them out there. I like Mevo. It's about $1,000 all in with the kit and everything. Put it in. Put run your speakers, your microphones to it, whatever you're using, and it can live stream. Right. What you do with the content later is a whole other story. But getting the content on the internet is a serious first step. It encompasses tons and tons of um, workflows and planning and preparation. If you want to shrink the preparation and planning, you just do a live stream with kind of open format. The more you add to that, the more planning you're going to have to do. If you have guests, if you have to bring people in, if they're remote, if it's on location, so on and so forth. So it's really up to the person, up to the company. Um, and you need a talent, someone to host the show and drive engagement or produce engagement. So once you get the video, however, in whatever format, you have the video file now, whether downloaded from your YouTube channel, whether on a SD card, whether on Vimeo or what have you. You got the file. Okay. The reason I love video so much, live video in particular, but video so much, is the fact that you can turn that content, that video content, into all other forms of content. So you can cut up the video and use those segments as um, social media content. You can take the audio and turn it into a podcast. You can take the transcript of that audio and turn it into blog posts. You can take the blog posts and turn those into emails. And then you can take the blog posts and let's just say the blog posts, or a mix of all those, and turn that into white papers. And you have now completed not only the two major, most popular B2B content types, you created all this other content in between that can create an entire media department around your marketing company. You have to distribute that content. You have to, in some cases, advertise that content, depending on your. Well, you should always be advertising your content. You got to manage that community. You got to do a lot of other stuff. But based on where your priorities at, you can do all of that in simple, basic ways. You can always make it more complicated and bigger. The best being a private membership community, with a newsletter and forums and resources and the like, which is really should be your blog, your resource center on your website. But that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother time. The thing about doing this is it's all about making the content. It's all about consistency and contents. And so if you have a, you know, your first instinct might be to hire some junior staff to come in and do it because they're better on camera, because they understand social media and whatnot. But it's a big mistake because they don't have the depth of knowledge of the industry that leadership typically almost always has, right? And any good leader, that's table stakes. You got to understand the playing field, you got to understand the company both deeply. So, junior staff have to really work hard to figure out what to talk about. And so they will err on the side of short form, or it'll take them a long time to develop enough content. They'll be uncomfortable with long form content. But 30 minutes is really the minimum you want to do online. It's a minimum worth producing. Let me put it that way. Um, at the same time, leadership has how do I say this? Far more knowledge than is necessary to convey on your social media content or your web show, right? Buyers, because what you should be doing is talking to people at the very beginning of their buyer's journey. You should be right here, and you should have your pamphlets and your guides and your training course and everything so that as they start, they're taking your knowledge and hopefully you're um, giving them the right knowledge at the right stage in the journey so they keep consuming it. They keep using you as a reference, a resource. But you're always kind of at the beginning. And even when you uh, update them throughout, you have to ideally get them when they start so that you have an opportunity to frame the market so that they can have a better time or they can their buyer's journey is less painful. That in and of itself is a valuable offer. And so during this buyer's journey, it kind of ends at reaching out to sales, pulling, turns from a marketing lead. I shouldn't say the buyer's journey ends, but the customer education process moves from a marketing lead to a sales lead when they start their first sales interaction, and that's usually when marketing's role is done. Most of their job is done at that point. They've succeeded in their core mission to get more and better sales interactions. Okay, that's fine, but that for us, luckily, means that prospects are usually, how do I say this, especially if you're talking to them right when they're starting, it means they're at the very beginning and they're this whole time they you're trying to give them just enough information that they need until they're ready to contact sales. Because when they contact sales is when they're going to get um, into it, right? And then the sales process starts. And for larger products and services, that's just the beginning of the conversation, right? It might take a year to close that deal. Um, and they will go through endless nuance, right? Endless. You're trying to, at the marketing stage, provide 101 level content, intro to blank, your industry, the problem, challenges, right? So think of it as an undergraduate course in your industry. Level 100, first year, they know enough to take the course, but they don't know anything about the course, right? Intro to calculus, intro to whatever, um, American history, intro to engineering. And you want to provide them with the tools they will need to excel in the rest of their learning. You want to educate them as much on what is going on in the industry, why this matters, why that doesn't matter, what are the major themes, right? You want to give people a very introductory course. So my point being, this is like 101 level information, bottom of their journey up to sales, and that level of information is often way lower than leadership's level of information. Leadership is at the edge of known information or knowledge on industry X, right? They are solving problems that have never been solved before. No matter how uninnovative a company is, it is often at the edge of the known uh, 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 of the market, so to speak. It's touching customers, and so y- you need to transform down or step down your knowledge. And so what I'm getting at is that for leadership, they can rant about 101 level stuff, basics about their industry for hours. It's simple. It's beyond simple. It's so simple for them that we often, everyone always does this. You think it's unvaluable. It's not valuable. Who would want to listen to the basics of cloud computing? Well, let me tell you, people that are getting ready to shift their enterprise onto the cloud, and they haven't had to deal with the cloud yet, and they don't know what the hell the cloud is exactly. If they do, they have no idea how to distinguish vendors yet, because they might be thinking that, you know, they just, if they're smart, and most buyers are in the B2B space, almost all buyers are, they know shit. And so they got to go down this long, arduous process. If you make that arduous education process that much easier, they will include you in the RFP. Or I should say, you will get the most RFPs if you help everyone in your industry learn um, the most simply how the industry works and where they need to go for answers in the industry. And obviously, you provide more resources for people that need to solve the problem you solve, and even then, you help them understand, your market segment and how to distinguish between vendors. You don't have to even talk about other vendors, but you have to equip them with the tools by which they can differentiate, right? And so it's really important for leadership to make the video content. And if you really think about it, it's not that crazy. You can start with, I mean, really think about it. 1 half-hour video a week would be an A plus. One 60-minute video a month would be, I think, an A. An half-hour video once a month would be an A minus. Like, and what do I mean by that? I mean, compared, valuing or taking into account how much content you can make out of that, how how much information you can give, and also how many other people in your industry are doing it. So how far above, how better than what a how do you say it? How you'd be positioned doing that, right? Because if you're only putting out a video once a month, but everyone else is doing daily videos, then you're gonna lose a veneer. You know what I mean? You at least don't have that. You're not performing at the industry standard. Luckily, in B2B, nobody has a consistent live show. Nobody. I mean, outside of San Francisco, Silicon startups, venture backed startups, nobody. Typically, when the marketing, and those companies that do, the crazy thing is, they just know marketing so well, but their products are so young and narrow or shallow, right? They have like a couple of SaaS products that everybody uses, and they have a long ways to go until they can become, enterprise, um, or even mid-market juggernauts. Like the many, many of you listening to this right now, you have $100 million plus businesses, and your products are extremely complex and nuanced. You have the winning hand. You're just not communicating it and effectively in the digital medium, which is half of all ad spend. And what I'm trying to tell you is the answer to how to jump to an A in social media marketing is to create a half hour, 1 half hour to 4 half hours, how to say, a half hour to 2 hours of video content a month. That's it. Simplest way is grab an intern, have them put the phone on the tripod, put the nice camera facing you, have them record you, and have them feed you questions if they must. Or put a little chalk or whiteboard of questions that you need to answer and have them point. So that way you don't even have to do any editing, right? If you want to get fancier, you can go as far as making a documentary on your industry, on your clients. That's like, you know, something worthy of Netflix or TV show, right? Um, that's as far as you can get. But you don't need to go there because no one's doing that. In the B2C side, it's different. That's getting to become table stakes in the B2C side, in the enterprise space anyway. But in the B2B side, it's a desert of content. And so any content gets consumed. Now, do you want your competitors making crap content and winning off that? Or do you want to make great content with the equipment you probably have in your pocket? Let's be honest. Everybody has a smartphone in their pocket, and you can get, if you want to experiment with it, you just need a microphone adapter. And honestly, the newest mic, I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, but you can see if you try it, all the latest smartphones have incredible microphones on them. So if it's a quiet place, that could even do. But just get a little microphone off Amazon, make sure it works with your phone, and get a tripod mount, put your phone on there, and get a good backdrop. That's literally all you need to produce A-level content. Lighting is an issue, that's important, and editing can always be done later, right? You can do a live stream as unlisted, so nobody even sees it, but then you don't have to wait, an hour to 2 hours to upload and deal with the files. More like if you're gonna start editing, it needs to get uploaded to a computer, edited, edited, and then uploaded online. That's like a half day minimum if you really got your shit together, which if you're just starting out, it's going to be very challenging. That's a couple of days for the average person who's got to tag this on to their existing workflow. You can expect a week. That's nothing wrong with that. Um, but you get into all these, when you start editing right away, when you're not proficient at that, video editing as an organization, you get into different conversations that you shouldn't be having. Like, what kind of logo are we going to use? What kind of intro are we going to use? What kind of music are we going to use? What kind of cutscenes? No, 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 no. None of that matters online yet. None of that matters. You got to get your format, your voice, and your contents down. Once you get those going, and you don't have to worry about what do I talk about or what type of stuff do I talk about? What kind of segments do I have? What's the backdrop? Like just basic stuff. Once you get to there, you can start chopping it up. But you don't need to get there. You don't want to edit poorly and then be or more like, how do I say this? You don't want your random choice in editing to dissuade you from working up the flywheel that is a social media show. And so get your voice first. You don't even have to show them to people, and then you can start thinking about editing what you're doing. Yeah, I'll leave the editing to another. That's a whole other conversation. So I don't even think you need to do it. For most people, it's not. It's really not necessary. A simple watermark logo is enough. I mean, when you start a webinar, is it edited? No. You're just there to learn. You're literally there to learn. And that's why we all, as B2B buyers, are consuming video content because we want to know how do I make the best decision given my constraints time, staff, cash, legal, all of it. Everyone's different, right? Market and politics, right? So we want to learn our own things on our own dimes and our own time. One of the best things to that point, which I think this is going to make a massive comeback, is the printed book. I haven't read this one yet, but I went to this conference. Like 3 SaaS companies, SaaS vendors, gave books, and I love me a good hardcover book. That's just um, don't skimp on the graphic design. It needs to look modern. It needs to look intentional. It can't look like you slapped it together. To put all that work into all that content and then have a PDF effectively ruin, all books are judged by their covers. Don't forget that. But still, to hold it, it's like wow, there's effort put here. There's oomph. Haven't read this one yet, but I'm looking forward to it. First one I read, or I'm reading, is this one. This is much simpler to produce, and you can actually see the difference here. This is more. This is like a summary of blog excerpts, blog and podcast excerpts, but it's much more graphically rich. This is effectively an editing job, though. This is a novel. This is a business book, and clearly the effort went into the contents, not the graphic design. Although this is a good, clean, simple book cover. This one I also like. These are 4 different ways to do it. I'll say 5. So we're going offline, off a tangent here, but and I know I've talked about this before, but I just love these books. This is a founder's guide to recruiting, how to hire. This is the simplest version of a book you can make. Well, maybe not the simplest. It still has graphic design. My first version of our parent company's training manual is even simpler. This is Canva front, so in-house designed, because we wanted to touch the book. We wanted to see what the vendor was like. We wanted to, we don't really care what it looks like right now. And then Google Docs interior PDF. So 0 effort. Also only costs $2.50 to make. And so when this is, it's being copywritten right now, and then I'll get some graphics in there, and a new cover. But this is an internal document, really, that we use to train vendors and staff, or not vendors, but freelancers and staff. And it's how to think about conversion marketing. You need to understand this to run a Vidulant account. You can't. It's all based on this. You can't skip this. So it's a training manual, and we could just, when it's cleaner, we'll give it away in person. And then this one is the hardest to make, and I would actually caution against this. This is a founder of a consulting company, and it's for sale in bookstores. And the reason I would caution against this is because this producing under your own name, but to your business audience, this is different. This author publishes under his own brand, and developed this following on his own podcast, of which he talks about his business not all the time, but comes up. It's known he has this business, and so that's different. That's his personal brand, but I wouldn't go that route. I wouldn't publish it for sale. I wouldn't worry about that stuff, because what you want to do is just give as much value as possible, and you want to eat the cost. This is a lead gen tool. This is a marketing tool. This is a revenue stream for the author that supplements his business. This doesn't go to the business, that income. So, and this little book, a couple of these books, has built a massive following for Ty Bennett. He's a coach and an author and a speaker. New ideas, don't fluff it up. Just get the point across in as small format as you possibly can. Brevity is an important issue, or an important factor. However, everyone knows that new ideas are complicated, and B2B solutions are complex, and the markets are very nuanced. So it's okay to have some heft. And if you think about it, you're going to end up, you do a couple of these videos talking about one topic per video, and you'll realize, oh wow, we know a lot. We know a lot more than we think we do often. So, with that, I will do another video next week, and I'll see you all in the training section of Vidulant.com. As always, this podcast is brought to you by Vidulant, the first and only complete ABM solution. We are automating B2B marketing for mid-market firms. And if you want to learn how we do it, check out vidulant.com/training. And if you want a better look into your existing ABM program, we offer a analytics as a service for all of you who are curious. How is my ABM actually working? Where can I focus my efforts? And where can I trim the fat? So check it